is June 17th, 2024, and I'm your host, FINGY. Before we get into today's session, if you would be so kind as to subscribe to our channel, we have so much amazing music going down over here, and we want you to be in the loop. With that being said, we're on all streaming services, so Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, you name it, we are there. Tap in. But without further ado, I'm so stoked to introduce, all the way from Ashburn, we have Paris Paloma. Take it away.
What did I do wrong? Will you tell me what I did wrong? What did I do wrong? Will you tell me what I did wrong? What did I do wrong? Will you tell me what I did wrong? What did I do wrong? Will you tell me what I did wrong? What did I do wrong? Will you tell me what I did wrong?
Was it a false defense? How long had you been harboring that memory? You could have used the words then. You wanted them to hurt, and so I wouldn't. Never would I beseech you. As some sadistic vengeance exercise to undo what you put me through. I don't think you would pull out on the other side. I know you've had a temper, but I guess I thought I was immune. Felt it as you said, but my mind tore it all of the way through. And I was strawberry picking, you were gathering ammunition to use. And the shrapnel digs in my mind has not been silent since you. My mind has not been silent since you.
Will you tell me what I did wrong? What did I do wrong? Will you tell me what I did wrong? What did I?
He's punching walls again. Cohesive arguments evade him. Eggshell temperament, no emotional evacuation. Hysterical baby, his gaze always evades me. Doesn't know that he's paving the road for my escape with every time I scratch another lot. I used to think of him like a living thing, knuckles on his drywall. I've tried all of the parenting, descent into hysterically, ripping into ribbons the things he knows he isn't, and severing ties. Funny rationality. drones in monotone on a power trip. The telltale blood still running in his coward lips from raising strokes that he hopes are cowering. I used to think of him like everything, knuckles on his drywall. I've tried all of the parenting, descent into hysterically, ripping into ribbons the things he knows he isn't, and severing ties. Never making good on silent threats so that he knows that I have nothing. Never making good on silent threats so that he knows that I have nothing. Never making good on silent threats so that he knows that I have nothing. Never making good on silent threats so that he knows that I have nothing. Never making good on silent threats so that he knows that I have nothing. Never making good on silent threats so that he knows that I have nothing. Never making good on silent threats so that he knows that I have nothing. Oh, but he has nothing. Think of him a caring thing, knuckles on his drywall. I've tried all of the parenting, descent into hysterically, ripping into ribbons the things he knows he isn't, and severing ties. I'm severing ties. Severing ties.
Beautiful. I'm loving the sonics, dude. It's so refreshing to hear such heartfelt folk mixed with like these like arpeggiated, vocoded vocals. Was that your idea? Was that a producer you were working with?
I think it kind of came through like the layering of like harmonies. Me and Justin sort of like both kind of birthed that idea, I suppose, to have the vocoder in on the final bridge. But I mean, maybe it was Justin's inspiration that knew exactly what we should use.
Right. Whatever it was, it's tickling my ears this fine morning. So thank you. So through listening to your music, through reading the lyrics, I can, start to grasp that there's a level of high emotional intelligence that you withhold, as well as many women must. And it was also interesting. I was like listening to an interview of you, and you were saying how you found it ironic how like some men down talk women for crying and having these emotional outbursts, yet can't emotionally regulate when they get angry and start smashing stuff or whatever. So I was wondering, on a personal note, when did you become conscious of the practice of emotional regulation, and when did you have to start putting that into practice?
I think it's been like a continuous thing that has evolved alongside my mental growth, as well as just my my growing up, my maturing, and obviously emotional regulation as like a tool for regulating yourself to make kind of the waves of what you go through, whether it's like mental illness or like anxiety, that's like entirely necessary. But there's also a whole other aspect to it where you need to understand yourself in order to be empathetic towards others. And I think what Drywall refers to, like you said, is the demographic of men who seem very threatened by discussions of patriarchy, as if it threatens their manhood, their stoicism, but they are also the most emotional in guarding that patriarchy and become incredibly defensive when you talk about it. And there'll be the same men that condemn you for being overly emotional in the same breath as losing their tempers at you.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And it's a dance, you know, like to be able to be aware of your emotions enough to know when to regulate, and also to be aware enough to know when to express. And you're quite vulnerable in your music. You're quite vulnerable even in your discussion upon it. And I was wondering, when do you know it's time to be vulnerable and to express these large emotions you have? And when do you find that threshold where it's time to maybe pull back and not give too much?
I think I've always not thought about it, but been conscious of it in the inverse. I've just sort of set out with vulnerability, and then you know the point at which you want to hold something back or withhold something. I think it's also a reason, like, my songs feel incredibly vulnerable, but also they are shrouded in like a kind of layer of, you know, whether it's been like literature devices or like mythology that I choose to tell stories through. It's a way of kind of protecting yourself as a writer, so that you're not writing songs that feel like trivia about events in your life.
That's such a great idea. I make music as well, and sometimes I worry that when I write about the things I go through, one, I'm like, dang, like, this is really real. Like, is there going to be dramas or me gossip because people know what it's about? But you're essentially suggesting be vulnerable, express how you're feeling, but then almost mask, maybe isn't the word, but code it in a narrative that's already universal, whether it be Greek mythology, whether it be some type of folklore, and use that as the vessel of the message.
I think it also helps for it to make it feel like a universal message, you know, because those are incredibly human stories, and they become tropes for a reason that people refer to time and time again in songwriting and creative writing and books. And I think that's something that my audience finds really compelling and do in their own creative endeavors.
Yeah. You taught me that today earlier, teaching me how to upload my own sound to TikTok. Like, thank you. Putting me on game, putting the world on game. We really appreciate it. Let's do a couple more.
So run like spider webs. I'll always remember the things she said. It was so washy up my eyes, and they'll never close again. Oh, how she sighed when she stubbed her cigarette. I felt compelled to inquire for success. How do you do? How can you be so in love with yourself? Tell me please, 'cause I need help. She said, every time you are succeeding, there's an old man somewhere seething, and spite's as good a reason to take his power. When you hate the body you love in, or love your acting just for him, as he counts his golden grain. roots are grazing on the mountainside. It's golden, blinded by the sight of the water moving in the last of the light. Think that I was running from the night, but I've been following behind the light all this time. It can't hurt me, it's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. The warmth is coming back and now, no, it can't hurt me. It's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. Moving slowly, tracking laughter through the trees, the sound of the safety that's evaded me, the calling of the birds, the warmth returns to my extremities, long dead from freezing burn. On my feet, I thought it ran from me, but the beckoning sunbeam nearly reached, nearly in reach. It can't hurt me, it's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. The warmth is coming back and no, it can't hurt me. It's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. It can't hurt me. It's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. The warmth is coming back and no, it can't hurt me. It's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. I reached it with hands out like a child, lifting up to eat it. I pulled a light, and it showed through my teeth, and I tasted sunbeams emanating from me, from me, from me. In the crib, I reached it with hands out like a child, lifting up to eat it. I ate, I pulled a light, and it shone through my teeth, and I tasted sunbeams emanating from me, from me, from me. It can't hurt me, it's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. The warmth is coming back and no, it can't hurt me. It's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. It can't hurt me, it's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning. The warmth is coming back and no, it can't hurt me. It's still there, but it can't know the warmth's returning.
Banger alert, dude. Awesome. And Jim, you're killing it over there. You're running everything. So just want to send a little love.
He's in
your
the
way.
spaceship.
Yeah, no, truly. I like. How long did it take to like figure out this setup and if you could achieve it all?
I've done it before actually on
Yeah.
a different project, but yeah, it uses a lot of RAM.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, I have yet to see the disk utility, crash out on you. So you're doing good. I tried to do another tech metaphor, but I think yours was better than mine. So, my friend, Paris, you have a very powerful persona. And I don't want to be quick to assume that is a persona that drains you at times to keep up, unless it is? Or is it the alternative side where being that you have to embody this persona, it's a level of strength that fuels you in order to do so?
It's a really interesting question, because I look at other artists who have made a really intentional decision to have a persona, and I don't really think I have one. I think you always have one when you perform that you kind of just get collaterally, but it's never something I've thought very intentional about in order to put on a persona in order to either protect myself or project something to the audience. I think it suits my music to do it that way, but yeah, it can definitely get exhausting at times, and it does feel like there's a degree of protective measure. I'd say my persona is slightly less than what there is to the rest of me, if that makes sense. It's the part that I'm happy to share, publicly and on stage and in songs and things.
Yeah. No, because I must imagine I've seen all the labor TikToks and all these very empowered, emboldened women because of your music really pull up and like just deliver to the camera. It's theater on the internet. I love it. And I was wondering like if there's a level of cognitive dissonance that comes with that, where you're like, wow, my art is making these women feel proud enough to express an emotion that isn't typically societally approved, but is there an undertone of like, oh my God, like they're really feeling that, like I better keep this up?
100%. There's so much imposter syndrome. And my manager sort of said, and it kind of helps and also doesn't, that doesn't go away, because I think everyone has a degree of imposter syndrome no matter what stage they are at in their life or career. But yeah, and in terms of that and the persona, I think it's definitely something that I share that is very special with my listenership, and that's what I'm really grateful for. And I think any imposter syndrome is kind of put more to bed when I can look at people's faces and see them singing the songs and see in the real time world what an effect it's had on them. And I also think the listeners deserve like as much of the credit for making Labour what it was as I do, because it wouldn't have become the moment that it was had they not made it so much bigger than me. And I think that's sort of, again, what I meant about persona, because it's like a part of me, but then it's also so much of it is built by the listenership.
Yeah, almost like a rebirth and a repurpose of an idea. I like that. And all of these personas, all of ours, yours as well, they stem back from childhood. And I was wondering what little baby Paris was like, and if there was characteristics that you embodied as a young girl, or things you were or weren't allowed to do as a child that set you up to be the person you are now.
I was a very tomboyish, weird child. Not because I was tomboyish, but because I was tomboyish and I was also just a bit weird. But I think that's a really good way for a kid to be. There wasn't really anything I wasn't allowed to do. It's more just things I didn't know that I was able to do, that I didn't know they existed, or I didn't know I had the confidence or the ability to do them, whether it's ask for things or take up space, or to choose not to define myself into boxes. Tomboy being a great example of one of them. Whereas now in my adult life, that would be, a discussion about my gender identity and so forth. But yeah, I think I was a funny kid, I think. And I think it has definitely put some roots in for the kind of, funniness I have in my career and life today.
Yeah, I'm not getting the impression that your parents were the type to be like, sit down and study and do nothing else. I
think they just sort of really encouraged any kind of branch of like passion I had for anything. They'd always let me read at the table because I was such an obsessive reader. And they didn't want to discourage me from reading, so I would have a book with me everywhere, and I would probably come across as actually quite rude to a lot of people, but I think they were just happy for that.
I think if that came off as rude, if anyone's getting mad at that, they're probably just pissed they don't have the literacy that a young baby had, which would potentially be me. But if anything, I'd frame it as like oh, sick. You're good at reading. That's awesome. And before we continue, I've been saying to my coworkers, like, this is a crazy moment in time. You have a sold U.S. headlining tour. You're playing with Stevie Nicks in London, like, next month. Your debut album has yet to even come out. And I'm sure by the time this is out and y'all are watching it, it is out. Stream it. But right here, right now, it's almost this, like, we're in this limbo waiting room before a lot of your life changes. What are have you experienced moments where you kind of sit back and take in the calm before said storm?
Yeah, I think so. I think also I have a really wonderful team around me and an amazing, manager, an amazing band. And I think we're all very conscious of not being swept away by it, but rather walking into what's to come quite intentionally, which I think is the only way to, keep sane and make sure you're on a path that you want to be on. And I'm very lucky that I'm definitely on one that I'm really grateful to be on and is one that I want to be on right now.
Yeah. Well, we're all so excited for you. Read books, play outside, stream Paris Paloma. Hell yeah. Let's run a couple more.
When I'm lying in my bed, I like to pretend that my body is just bones on the beach. It's the first time I feel rested since my mother's womb I slept in, my last home between the stones and the sea. Some overzealous anthropology professor with all his students in tow carry spades and books for studying, stumbling, discover me. I implore them to leave me alone. Say, give me 1 millennium more, that maybe I will belong more than any place in which I was living when I am bones on the beach. With the end long past, I want eternal sigh. I've no breath that is left to release, and the loudness of mind has been gone since I died. Was I meant in this life to find peace before I became bones on the beach? I hear footsteps and bones, they cannot look left, but I register her stepping nearby. Her face is peaceful, she's looked upon life's evil and considered it next to infinite skies. She doesn't ask for more time. Give me 1 millennium more, that maybe I will belong more than any place in which I was living when I am bones on the beach. When I am bones on the beach. into the waves below? Who tends the orchards? Who fixes up the gables? Emotional torture from the head of your high table. Who fetches the water from the rocky mountain spring and walk back down again to feel your words and their sharp sting? And I'm getting fucking tired. The capillaries in my eyes are bursting. If all love died, would that be the worst thing? For somebody I thought was my savior, sure made me do a whole lot of labor. The callous skin on my hands is cracking. If all love ends, would that be a bad thing? And the silence won't serve a chamber. You made me do too much labor. Apologies for my tongue and never yours. Busy lapping from flowing cup and stabbing with your fork. I know you're a smart man and weaponize the false incompetence. It's dominance under a guise. If we had a daughter, I'd watch and could not save her. The emotional torture from the head of your high table. She'd do what you told her. She'd meet the same cruel fate. So now I've gotta run so I can undo this mistake. At least I've gotta try. The capillaries in my eyes are bursting. If all love died, would that be the worst thing? For somebody I thought was my savior, sure made me do a whole lot of labor. The callous skin on my hands is cracking. If our love ends, would that be a bad thing? And the silence won't serve a chamber. You made me do too much labor. All day, everyday therapist, mother maid, nymph, then a virgin, nurse, then a servant, just an appendage, lived to attend him so that he never lifts a finger. 24/7 baby machine, so he can live out his picket fence dreams. It's not an act of love if you make her. You made me do too much labor. All day, everyday therapist, mother maid, nymph, then a virgin, nurse, then a servant, just an appendage, lived to attend him so that he never lifts a finger. 24/7 baby machine, so he can live out his picket fence dreams. It's not an act of love if you make her. You made me do too much labor. The capillaries in my eyes are bursting. If all love died, would that be the worst thing? Somebody I thought was my savior, sure made me do a whole lot of labor. The callous skin on my hands is cracking. If all love ends, would that be a bad thing? And the silence won't serve a chamber. You made me do too much labor.
Thank you so much, Paris and Jim, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, anytime I'd do it again. Thank you to our crew for getting this done. We can't do it without you. And thank y'all for watching. Like I said earlier, by the time you watch this, everything is out on all streaming services. So Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, you name it. Or, just run this back to back to back, whatever toots your horn. My name is FINGY. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.